your guide to government contracting series. So in less than 15 minutes, I'm going to cover how you can start doing business with the government. And this is the second installment in this 5-video series. So make sure that you like and subscribe to get the notifications about the other videos, because we want you to get into government contracting if that's what you want to do. So as always, a little bit about me. I have my doctorate in human resource development, which that's why they call me Dr. PJ, and I'm an award-winning advocate for small businesses to get into government contracting. I've been recognized by the Houston Business Journal, as well as other local and national organizations and government agencies for my work in the field. And so I'm happy to be here to help you. I am a former government employee who was charged with helping small businesses to navigate the government procurement process, as well as help them to get contracting, to start, grow, and scale their businesses, whether or not they were doing business with the government. So now I'm a business consulting, helping small businesses. I'm a speaker, an author, and of course, an entrepreneur. And I'm here to be your strategist into government contracting. So if you're a small business, I can help you with one-on-one coaching and advising. I can also be a part of your team as a retained consultant. And I also have a la carte services. So whether you are local where I'm at or you are somewhere else in the United States, I'm happy to be your liaison shops. But if you're from an organization, how can I help you? I can help you develop the programming. I can help you develop the strategy and the partners in order for you to serve your businesses. So there's other videos in this series, of course, and you can check them out. You see them right there. So make sure you connect with me to know my YouTube page, which is Dr. PJ Online is my handle. And you can also connect with me on LinkedIn for more information. And I'm here to be a resource to you. And so let's get started, because right, I got to do this in 15 minutes or less. So government contracts, how to start. Where you start with the end in mind, just like a movie, right? They film the last scene first and they work their way up to it. When you're doing government contracting, you start with the end in mind. What do you want to supply to the government? And so you want to determine what the government is going to buy from you. And we say the government, who in that government? If you don't know what I'm talking about, you got to go back to video 1, where I talk about the different levels of government and the different types of government agencies. So what you want to do is visit those websites and review their past solicitations. That's one beauty about doing business with the government, is that their information is public. And so you can go and find out those things, to do your research. And then I always suggest to people to start locally and then work your way up to that federal level. You want to take note of their buying patterns when you're doing the research and going to their websites, what they're buying and how often are they buying them. What is the contract terms, right? Is it a one contract that's renewable, 3 years? You want to know all that information, and who are the people or the organizations that are getting those contracts? Who are your competitors? Who do you need to be watching out for and researching to see how your competitive advantage is better than theirs? So you're trying to find out your best fit. So that's what you're doing, is researching those agencies in your area, determining what level of government best fits your needs because of if they buy your product or service more. You also want to do, and this is very, very key, to seek out their small business office. Depending on the government, some will house it in the economic development office. Others will house it separately. So you can go to your local websites, whether it's your city, whether it's your county, whatever. It might also be in just the procurement office. So you want to look at those. And if you don't know what terms I'm talking about, go back to video 1, right? And you can reach out to them specifically for available resources that they may have for you with your business. And they also might have some information on how you can access the different departments and access those contracting opportunities. They call them gatekeepers. You can see their information. You want to build a good relationship with them. Lastly, you want to serve their website to get a better understanding of the different departments as a precursor of what those departments might buy specifically, right? And then you want to look at who is a point of contact for what they buy, because that person needs to be your contact. You want to reach out to them and build a relationship with them, because that's where your research begins, because you want to know what they buy, how often they buy it, and who is your contact person to reach out to for more information, right? Okay, so when we talk about government contracting, there are typically three types. Now, keep in mind, depending on what city and state you are in, there may be some different financial thresholds or monetary thresholds in these, but there are three different areas. So you have micro purchasing. So typically, this is the purchasing where it can be done by a purchase order, or it could be a transaction that's done by a credit card. These are going to be your smaller purchases, maybe like $3,000 or less. And again, remember, these dollar amounts that I'm putting out are going to vary depending on which agency. So when you're doing your research, you're also looking for what are the financial thresholds on the different types of contracts they have, right? For instance, there might be a department and they get new employees, and those new employees might not have the department polo shirt like the old employees. So they might just reach out and say, hey, we need 10 embroidered polo shirts. We can pay with that with a credit card, right? Boom, you make that transaction. You have just done business with the government, right? Some businesses, $3,000 might not cut it for your budget. Well, then that's where we move up to the next level, which is informal bids. But let's stick a pin right there. I want to skip that one and go to level 3, which is formal bids. So typically, anything that is like $50,000 or more will be considered a formal bid. Again, depending on what area you're in, the number might change. But let's just say $50,000 is a threshold. So these are going to be your larger contracts. These are going to be the contracts that are posted publicly, so that you can find out what solicitation, what they need, what they're asking for, what are their requirements, and you can determine if that is a contract that you want to go after. So formal bids, and then in those formal bids is going to be a level of where certification comes into play, right? Where you might have whoever has that contract might have to subcontract that out to a smaller business. And we'll get into that a little bit later. So you have micro purchases, which is everything under $3,000, are not going to be public information. You'll have to basically call up those people, see what they need. That's why you have to, when you're doing your research, you're trying to find out who those contact person or persons are for that department, so that you can reach out to them. You even can send them a catalog or whatever you want to do. But so you have the micro purchases, then the informal bids, where I told you to stick a pin in it. They're the beauty of it, right? They're a combination of the micro purchases and the formal bids. It's typically anything up to $50,000. Again, check the number for your local area or for your particular agency you're interested in. So what's going to happen with those informal bids? Some are going to be posted, and then some are going to be the same strategy you have to have when you're doing the micro purchasing. But what those informal bids are is an opportunity for small businesses. They are basically cut out for small businesses to take, because the larger businesses, $50,000 or less, not really something that they want. So small businesses, this is your chance to work on those contracts, start to get several of them, build your capacity, and then you'll be ready for the formal bids at any moment, right? So micro purchasing, informal bids, and formal bids are the three different contract types that you want to look out for and start your entry point there when we're talking about where do you start? Okay. Next thing you need to do is to get registered. The thing I want you to determine is, we talked about the level of government that you want to start. Here's the thing. You have to be registered with the agency in order to do business. I don't care if you sell them one cupcake. You have to be a registered business with that agency. So what is going to happen is you're going to have to go to their website, find their small business, procurement, whatever. When you're doing your research, you'll find all that information out, what office buys and where is the vendor registration. That vendor registration is going to call for you to fill out some paperwork. They want to have you, you're going to have to do a W-9, and you're going to have to look for your NAICS codes, NAICS or NIGP codes, right? Depending on the agency, they'll tell you which ones they use. It's a coding system that identifies what product or service that you purchase. So it's not just one thing to say, hey, I'm a landscaper. Awesome. You got to pick the code that is for landscaping. What you want to do is make sure that you can have more than one code. Every type of service or product that you offer, make sure you find the code that identifies with it, so that when you're going after the contracts, it's going to say this contract is for these codes. So you have to have the code that matches what that product or service that they are looking for. And make sure you have your business information ready so that you don't have to go back and look for it, but you're going to have just the basics: your name, your address, phone number, contact person, identify your NAICS or NIGP codes, and have that W-9 form ready for when you register to be a vendor with that agency. All right. And you can register for more than one agency. But again, your research is telling you which agency you want or agencies you want to do business with, because they're more likely to buy your product or service. Okay. I know my time is ticking here. So an entry point for a lot of small businesses is the certification. So we're talking about those 3 contract types, and we talked about the formal bids. There's a threshold there. We'll just use 100,000 as an example. At 100,000, that's when the certifications will start to come in place. So that means contracts that are worth 100,000 may require certification. So that means that whomever gets that contract, which we call that the prime contractor, may have to take a portion of their contract and give it to a small business to perform, right? And it's not just to say, oh, yeah, I'm a small business. No, you have to have the certification to say that you're a small business, to say that you're a minority owned business, to say that you're a business that is operated by persons with disabilities. Whatever certification is going to be required for that contract, it's going to have it there. And then says that you have to subcontract whatever percentage to a woman-owned business, right? And so you just have to be certified for that. Now, do you have to be certified in general to do business with any of the government agencies on any level? No, but it's going to help you when on those large contracts where there's a certain percentage goal saying that whoever has a contract with our agency has to subcontract this out to a small business, and they designate what type of small business. That's where you, as a small business, with being certified, now you're qualified to work and do a portion of that large contract. And that's really great because it's going to help you to build your capacity. The next thing you want to do is to start networking, right? So if I'm a prime contractor, I have that contract and I know that I'm going after these large contracts and I'm going to need small businesses to work with. You as a small business have to be out there meeting those different corporations and those different businesses, because if they don't know you, how would they know to come to you so they can subcontract part of that work to give you the subcontracting work, right? So going back to where it says, where we talked about researching what agency that you want to work with, look, those agencies have events where they want to meet with small businesses, where they might have networking events, where they might have programs for small businesses. If that's the agency that you want to do business with because you know they buy your product or service, you want to make sure you go to those events. You want to make sure that you are connecting with other folks who are doing business with them, right? Because you want to do subcontracting work with them, but also you want to know who's the organizer of this event, what office does this, because that's going to be your person to help you navigate that particular agency, and they'll know you. And if you are into those micro purchases and your business can handle that, that's a great way for you to snap those small contracts and begin to build upon it, let people know you, and no matter how global we get with the internet, word of mouth still travels fast. So by you building relationships with the people, with the staff members and the government employee, and you're doing well when you perform, they will begin to share your name with other departments, with other agencies, and say, we work with them. They did a great job. You should use them. And that's how a lot of small businesses get into government contracting and grow to larger contracts. So that's how you can get started with doing business with the government. My time is almost up. Make sure you check out the other videos in this series. So if I use some words that you weren't familiar with, go back to video 1. But also, this was video 2 on how to get started. So you want to make sure that you look for those different government contract types, learn about the certification so that you can work on those larger contracts. I use the example about the police officer in the first video. So when we're talking about subcontracting, maybe doing the embroidery on the uniforms, that's a way you can be a subcontractor. So make sure if subcontracting is your entry point, you get certified, right? And if you already think that, hey, I'm ready to do this, I'm ready to do government contracting, this is my jam, then go to my website. You can scan that QR code right there. I have a procurement checklist. So you can go through that checklist to see if you are actually ready to get into government contracting, and also know that I have an upcoming program called On Track, where if you are interested in doing business, and this is for people who have not done government contracting and you want to get into it, this program is going to help you to do that exactly. And I'm going to be your mentor there every step of your way to make sure that your business has a solid foundation to do government contracting. All right. So any questions, make sure you connect with me there. If you want to go ahead and sit down and have a one-on-one and develop a strategy on how to get into government contracting, this is the slide you can do. You can scan that QR code, send me an email, connect with me on LinkedIn, and we'll get you set up. All right. So next time, government contracting is for small businesses, and now you know how to start.